Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. Today's going to be a strange day. I can just kind of feel it. Maybe it's the dampness in the weather or no bright sun. I don't know what it is, but let's zoom in a little bit here. Let's focus on this level, let's say. Okay. Maybe we'll try a little more focusing once I get something on the go. Let's move this down to about there. All right. Let's start with a doodle of some eyes and let the eyes be kind of hooded a little bit, I think. Yeah. I'll move this up a little bit too. See if that'll kind of focus again, just enough. Huh. I don't know where I'm seeing this face from. Then I'm going to see if I can kind of pull it out of my brain just a little bit too, but this is kind of, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this is coming from, but I can kind of see it. So I'm just kind of taking a moment to see if I can kind of pull it out of my head. But it's kind of like a long face. Maybe we'll go with a little more of a jaw there. We'll narrow out that cheekbone just a little bit. It's almost kinda, but not really. But here's the other thing. Maybe not quite so much. Maybe it's a clip from a movie. Now, the ears wouldn't be quite like this. I've always sort of wondered about ears and how they're supposed to be very much unique to every person, like fingerprints. But then it also makes you wonder how many people have very similar fingerprints. That's a possibility, I think. I mean, human beings are unique, but there's got to be like little patterns that repeat. Sort of a strange idea, anyway. That whole investigative, forensic sort of thing, which I wonder how much before Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes did they really kind of employ. I'm sure they did. I do find that kind of stuff interesting, though. I don't know if I'd like to deal with, you know, some of those more heinous crimes on a daily basis. I mean, I'm supposing that you can become a lot more clinical in how you deal with stuff. But I think you probably get some part of you that would kind of get lost in the way that you would deal with people. The whole thing of solving mysteries I do find interesting. I don't really enjoy a lot of those shows very much, but I do seem to watch a few of them for sure. I've got into the habit of not trying to solve stuff as I watch it. Which is difficult because sometimes you just have this thing. Like, well, for example, when you watch Columbo, for example, they usually tell you right off from the beginning, you know, who the guest star is going to be, and so you usually have a pretty good idea. Of the person who did whatever the crime was. If it's a guest star. I just get a kick out of that sort of thing. It's like, well, it looks like so-and-so is going to be in this episode, and this is a pretty good part. Yeah, no, they're the one responsible for this crime. Case solved. But then you have to try to figure out how they got caught. So there's been a few shows on like that I've actually spent a moment or two watching just because I find them kind of amusing, like Elsbeth, which is a different name. I kind of enjoy that show for its quirkiness. They start off each episode where you see the guest star and you see the crime being committed. So you don't have to spend the rest of the show going, who done it? It's like, well, now you have to try to see how the protagonist figures it out. And that to me is kind of fun. So it's a different way of moving past something. Now with this, I'm going to go with a slightly more elevated shoulder here. And this one down just slightly. Again, I don't know where this is coming from. Yeah. In case you're trying to figure this out as well. And this isn't really just like a mystery that I'm purposely trying to set up. And no, that's not a Star Trek. Emblem, although it kind of looks like it. Wouldn't that be funny if the basis of the Star Trek emblem was based on a sheriff's star? For those of you who know, I'm sure you already know, but for me, I don't know the basis of the sheriff's star and the possibility of it being part of Star Trek. That's just a funny idea that I just had just sort of pop into my head. Now, the way that I'm drawing this is not a typical way of doing things. I think with most people, when they want to draw something, they will get a pencil and rough out the character first. But I'm intentionally doing no pre-penciling. And I think for a little bit I might just sort of show you how I do that kind of stuff too. But I kind of feel like with most of what I do here on YouTube, I really want to show all the fun little mistakes that I like to make and how I live with that. I end up putting out a lot of horrible little drawings, which is kind of fun. You know, I think I'm going to do something silly. So I drew a cowboy with a root beer maybe a couple of weeks ago, and then sometime before that I drew an astronaut with a little cowboy hat. And I don't know if I want a cowboy hat. On this sheriff. There's something about this time period that I don't fully understand. Maybe it's this the part of the pioneering spirit, I guess, maybe. Like when I was a kid, it used to be kind of fun to get out to the tree fort. I used to like building lots of stuff like that when I was a kid. That was always fun. Trying to figure out what kind of things you could snack on in the woods. That was fun. You know, if you were lucky enough, you had people that would show you, well, this is okay to eat. These berries from this particular bush or whatnot. I mean, apples are pretty easy to figure out. There's a survival thing that I have an appreciation for. Something about this face is kind. Oh well, could be nothing. The kerchief, as in the handkerchief. It's kind of interesting. Had something else pop into my head. I'm just going to move this over just a little bit. Dip the pen. I think somewhere along the way it became too easy. And as we're moving more towards like the use of AI, we're giving up our abilities to do stuff. You know, I think it's too bad that we had calculators to help us figure out how to do problems faster. So I remember there was a point in school where we were told we could use calculators, but we had to be able to prove that we were able to do, you know, the math without it. So if you understood how the formula worked, then you could use it. I don't know. Machines do make certain things easier, but it doesn't benefit us that much, I think. I mean, like harvesting. My goodness, what a difference that makes. Threshers and balers and all that kind of stuff. If you were out dealing with this stuff, oh, you might as well start the harvest now. It is not an easy thing. Something about this almost looks like a little piggy. And now it's kind of looking like maybe a little bit like a donkey. Where am I going with this? For fun, I have this ear really perked. Horses are funny if you've ever been around them. They pick up on things. You could be having a bad day, and they will come by and just sort of hang out with you for a minute or so. They're kind of remarkable creatures, kind of like the way dogs are kind of like that. Cats don't have that same sort of empathy. I mean, they do, but not really the same as like dogs. I think dogs don't really track time. They're strange, wondrous creatures. Now, getting back to why I draw this the way I'm drawing this, I find it kind of amusing to put detail in way too early. And it's unnatural for a lot of people to do this way. And I kind of do this to fight with what's in my head at the moment. So when I started drawing this, I didn't have a perfect plan. And I'm kind of making up some of this as I go. I do have a little bit of an idea. As you can see, there's a bit in this horse's mouth. But here is when things are going to start getting a little wild. I'm gonna have some of the mane going. And again, that does seem kind of a little swiney. Have some of this flowing a little bit more that way too. A little bit off here. Now, leather is a material that some people find upsetting to have, and that they would believe it is in your best interest to use something synthetic instead. And I always try to figure out the purpose of certain things. If you want something to last, how will you use it? And of course, whether or not there was some sort of ethical way. Not that taking the life of something is always that ethical thing, but it's about usage, I suppose, and not cruelty. Well, no worries here. This is not leather, or a real horse for that matter. It's just a picture. And right here, I don't even know what these things are called, to be honest with you. And I don't know if modern day kids really use them. Something about it is a childhood something or other thing, Maybe it's called like a stick pony or... Ooh, maybe you can call it a pike pony. I don't know what they're called. I'm sure if someone told me, maybe it would ring a bell. I don't recall really. I mean, you know what? In the days when I played hockey, I guess, you would pretend that your stick, just because of the shape of it, right, from the blade through the handle, you could pretend that was a horse, and you'd gallop around the ice. Yeah, no, I don't know the name of this specialized artifact. Where are we at here? We're almost at 30 minutes. What I may do is I may break this up and kind of continue. So I'm going to have these two looking at each other. Now, I typically don't like to put in pupils and irises until I know what I want with the subject matter. But now that I know where we're directing our gaze, I don't mind. And this is where, the penciling would make sense. if you know what I mean. Vern. Maybe this is like a cross between Bing Crosby and Gene Autry. I don't know where I'm getting that face from. It may not belong to anybody. We'll just connect those like so. Okay. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if I can back that out a little bit further, but before I do that, let's take a quick look at what I have going on here so far. I have a cowboy without a hat. And I think what I'll do is I will kind of take a break from this for a bit, and maybe later on today I'll revisit this because I have some running around to do this morning. It's going to take me a couple of minutes to upload this anyway. And I'll try to figure out a few other things. Let's wild out some hair there, just a little flake or two of a wisp. I'll do a slight outline of this when I'm done anyway, but all right, well, those are our two buddies so far. Let's back this out to there. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for now. Stay tuned for part 2, and then, we'll try to figure out a few other things to just add in here to our stick, pony, and sheriff. All right, that's it for now. Yeah, there will be another part, and I'll just sort of probably rough out a couple of things and then add detail kind of as I go, as I normally do. Yeah. That's it for now. Ciao for now.